In yesterday's video, we escaped from the ruined town of Hopeville. The place was swarming with marked men, but there we found a cache of pre-war riches that will help us on our way to finding Ulysses. We also found the laser detonator, which we can now use to detonate the miniature nuclear warheads that dot the divide. This will open up new passages for us. After navigating the maze that was Hopeville, we found that the only road out led to a collapsed overpass tunnel. As soon as we enter the tunnel, Eddie plays back one of his memories.
I don't believe it. Grant actually went to Colonel Autumn and got approval for her damned efficiency guidelines. All experiments will be carried out with the test subject fully active to reduce iteration time. It's barbaric. I've explained this to the Colonel. Just because the iBots don't have true AI doesn't mean they're just machines. I guess results are all that matter around here. Forget things like ethical procedures or humane treatment. I'm starting to have serious misgivings about leadership around here. At least I've got you to talk to, huh, Eddie?
Whitley was really protective of his iBots, huh? I can't believe they'd approve that. I've met enough robots to know they're more than just machines. Big deal, you're a glorified computer. Why bother switching you off to improve you? He sounds more like a father than an inventor in these logs. He must have tried to change things. He doesn't seem like the type to let that slide. Let's press on, Eddie. We've got a lot of ground to cover. Off in the distance, we see something moving. Was that a Deathclaw? Crouching down, we can move forward. This collapsed overpass has created cave-like pockets, likely held up by the remains of destroyed buildings. Moving east, we can turn north, and we can take things ever so slowly, but we don't see that Deathclaw. On the ground near to a lantern, we see the remains of a shotgun trap, but the shotgun is gone. We see a construction light to the northwest, next to a billboard, but we don't see that Deathclaw. Where did he go? Well, for now, at least it's safe enough to explore. We can climb up a ruined car, which acts as a ramp into the back of a truck. In the back, we find a few caravan crates filled with food, and on the back wall of the trailer, we find another Ralphie poster, helping us along our way to completing the Feel Like a Kid Again challenge. Crawling out of the truck, we can creep around to where we saw that construction light. Facing east, we see a dumpster, and it looks like there's blood over there. We'll head that way in just a second. Turning around, we see a military shipping crate with a skeleton lying on top of it, but that's it for this corner. So we head north towards that dumpster. The blood was from an NCR trooper. We find his corpse still lying here by a lantern. On his body, we find the Bravo team mission orders, and something called a flashbang. You have found a flashbang grenade. Flashbangs are special grenades that deal fatigue damage, reduce enemy weapon skills, and have a chance to frenzy tunnelers. What the heck is a tunneler? I have a feeling we're about to find out. The flashbang is a new thrown explosive with Lonesome Road. It looks like a dark green canister with a red pin. It doesn't do much damage, having a measly 0.7 DPS. However, it deals between 25 to 100 fatigue, depending upon how close to the center of the blast the enemy was, giving us the chance to render an enemy completely unconscious, and it removes 50 weapon skill from enemies for 10 seconds. The frenzy chance for tunnelers is only 25%. Let's see if this log we just picked up can tell us any more about tunnelers. At 0600 hours, Bravo team will conduct sweep and clear operations in advance of the main force. Early intelligence suggests the tunnels are only sparsely populated by small subterranean semi-humanoids, which are easily cowed by bright light and loud noises. Bravo team has been issued flashbang grenades for this purpose, and is expected to meet minimal resistance. Well, that's encouraging, except for the fact that we do find his corpse here. It looks as if these tunnelers were not so easily subdued. There's an ammo crate with more flashbangs near to a ruined car, northwest of here, and inside the dumpster, we see the corpse of a Deathclaw. Wait, wasn't this guy alive just a moment ago? What killed him? There is a skeleton here lying on top of a duffel bag. When done, we can head out of the dumpster and move to the northwest, where we find 2 more NCR corpses, one of whom is a ranger. Heading east, we can move towards the light of a lantern on the ground, and creeping forward, we hear a noise. Was that movement? I thought I just saw movement. There's a little mound off to the south with green smoke pouring out of it. You can go home, courier. Climbing atop this concrete slab, we don't see anything over there. I'm hesitant to just walk right out there, so let's see if we can find a way around. Squeezing between the wrecked cars and scooting underneath the concrete, we can climb up on top of this truck and then hop down into the back of it. Here we find an ammo box and 3 military shipping crates. Dropping down to the ground on the other side of this truck, we find 2 more military shipping crates. Creeping around another overturned dumpster, we can climb up a rubble pile until Eddie gets scared. If the robot's scared, I wonder if I should be too. This section ends at a billboard to the east, and leaning against the billboard is a wrecked Sunset Sasparilla delivery truck. In the back of the truck, we see crate after crate of Sunset Sasparilla. Most have been destroyed with their contents leaking out, but we find a few that still have the drink inside. We find one skeleton here, possibly the driver. Spent the last few moments of his life enjoying the beverage he was delivering. Climbing back up that pile of rubble, we see a boat tipped up on its side. How did a boat get here? Was it being transported by a truck? Navigating across the rubble, we overlook one of those mounds. We see a hole in the top with more green smoke pouring out, but no sign of the creature that made this tunnel. Dropping down, the green mist appears not to be toxic. Walking over it and then to the south, we see a safe perched on a ruined floor. We can leap up there and unlock it. It's locked with a hard lock. And then climbing down into the ruined basement beneath this floor, we find a parts cabinet filled with a bunch of ammo crafting parts. The metal box nearby is also filled with lead and pistol powder. Turning around and moving north, we find ourselves on the other side of that rubble and twisted metal. We can crawl underneath that boat we saw earlier, where we find a skeleton and a duffel bag. And after looting it, a tunneler leaps out of its hole. Well, we survived. Not really sure how well those flashbangs worked. I didn't see any of them attacking each other, though, so I suppose we'll have to try this again. The tunnelers don't have a lot on their bodies, but we do find a new crafting component called Tunneler Hide. At least I thought this was a crafting component, much like the gecko hides from the Mojave. But it turns out that we don't find any recipes that require tunneler hide, so I'm not sure why these are here. They're worth 20 caps, and they only weigh 1 pound, so I suppose they may be useful simply for reselling to merchants. In the back of the truck right next to this tunneler mound, we find quite a stash of military crates. We can walk away with a whole bunch of rockets and a slew of other useful ammunition. Upon activating Eddie to use his ammo crafting bench, I discovered a few more dialogue options available. We can pass a 35 repair check to say, if you switch to the 3/8 wrench and the smaller drill, those weapon repairs would be easier. Passing this improves Eddie's repair functionality, allowing him to repair weapons up to 35% condition. We can then pass a repair check of 65 to say if you drop the power output by 0.24, you'll be able to make more energy ammo with no quality loss. Passing this check allows him to manufacture 35 energy ammo a day instead of 20. We then find a new explosives check of 35 to say, if you strip out those plasma relays on those energy cells, you could make flamer fuel. Passing this check allows Eddie to produce flamer fuel once per day instead of energy cells. We can then pass a final explosives check of 65 to say remove the safety catches on those microfusion cells and you could turn them into satchel charges. And passing this one allows him to produce satchel charges as an alternative to energy cells. Our path continues to the southeast. If we climb up a nearby pile of rubble, we find a duffel bag, and this pile overlooks more wreckage to the north. We don't see any tunnelers, but I'm going to move carefully here. Creeping down, we can move towards a ruined truck with a flashing light, and if we hop up on the car beneath it, we find a gap between the two, where we find more military shipping crates. From here, we can move northwest past a fire truck and move west around a delivery truck. It's on its back. We can hop up onto its belly and then use it to leap atop a big yellow trailer right next to it. From here, we can jump down into a small opening to the northeast. And as we do, more tunnelers emerge from one of their tunnel mounds. Okay, those flashbangs are pretty doggone effective. Those first two stayed there in their tunnel so long I thought I had killed them. Moving towards the west, we find a skeleton and a lantern in a corner with a duffel bag. And then moving east towards the truck, we can loot that red toolbox near to the light, and then hop atop a burned car to leap into the back of a military truck, where we find one shipping crate. From this truck, if we move east, we find a metal box and another military crate, and from here we can climb some rubble, pass between two concrete pillars to find the final room in this collapsed tunnel. We pass by a wall of rubble to the east. Looks like that leads outside. We can then turn southwest towards another construction light. Here we find a big sandbag barricade. Looks like someone had tried to fortify this place. Behind the barricade, we find the remains of a ham radio, a mattress, and a skeleton. There's a first aid kit in a box here, as well as a red toolbox. Inside the box next to the red toolbox, there's a teddy bear sitting on top of a copy of Duck and Cover. And with that, we fully explore the collapsed tunnel. To continue forward, we face east. Here we see a green road sign. High road, half a mile. When we're ready, we can climb the wreckage towards the high road.
There you are. You went quiet for a time. Knew killing the bear wouldn't prove easy. You and your machine, you survived. There's a lesson here in the Divide. Old world history about paving and intentions could teach the Republic a thing or two, if they listened. They have an idea of trying to do what's right, never quite getting there. Maybe you've seen it. Nipton. Elsewhere.
At least they're trying to help the Mojave.
Trying doesn't hold much weight with me. Legion doesn't try to kill people. They do it. The bear kills people trying to protect them. Irony's sharp. And Legion, their flag may be old, but it's not at war with itself.
You've got a better way?
Yes, and any courier could tell you the same. See it everywhere. The bear. Bear's too busy carving up the Mojave with knives, roads, borders, and how things should be, to see how it is. They're stretched thin, can't protect their front lines, their towns. Think paper's power, radio means control. All of it useless. No matter now, Bear couldn't hold the Divide. You and that machine are all that remains of NCR here. Rest fell to radiation, fire, and what burrows below.
What burrows below? You mean those creatures in the underpass?
Tunnelers. Predators that make their own roads beneath the ground here. Divide broke their sky, showed them the world above, and the scent of new prey. Be a slower death for the Mojave than bombs and fire, but they'll come for its people, from where they least expect. Below.
We can pass a 35 survival check to say, when you say slower death for the Mojave, do you mean they're spreading out from the Divide?
Death will come from below. In the Divide, need to watch the sky and the ground. Mojave will be easy prey for them. They'll start averaging throughout the Mojave in time. Might be years, probably less. They breed fast, hunt in groups, more than enough to bring down the strongest in the Mojave, once they draw blood. Seen them tear apart Deathclaws. Deathclaw might get some, but the rest will swarm it, tear it apart, like Denver hounds.
Denver hounds? Denver's far to the east, Legion territory.
Mojave and the Divide are the only places I've walked. Walked the east, too, before the bull came. Then, much like the Mojave before the bear, tribes, towns, clutching to life. Bull did a better job.
We can pass a 65 science check to say radiation from the war might have created them. Then detonations, quakes, caused them to surface?
Makes sense. Truth favors that. Matches the history of this place. Were signs they were here for a long time. Before marked men. Before what happened to the Divide cracked their sky. If so, they were buried deep. Might have been born on the day America's embers started to settle. Seen worse things twisted by radiation.
If our reputation with the Legion is high enough, we can pass a Legion check to say those legionaries in Hopeville wore Legion armor and strange masks and blades.
You haven't seen enough of the Legion yet to see what they worship, what they hold on to, even after what happened to them. They bear false versions of Legate Lenius's mask, the one Caesar fashioned for him. Thought it was an insult at first. No better now. It's shaped from Divide metal, not with care and strength, but with hate. Keeps them anchored. Crude, effective, like the blades they carry. Distant mirrors of their legate, a symbol they can hold on to, while the Divide tears at them.
Other marked men had NCR gear, and they weren't carrying masks or blades.
For the two-headed bear, NCR, they don't have symbols in the same way Legion does. They revere their mines and explosives, guns. That is their religion. Death from afar. Take pride in it.
Or if our NCR reputation is high, we can pass an NCR check to say those soldiers in Hopeville were once NCR, I'm sure of it. Why were they with the Legion?
You see, true. Not scavengers. It's what they wore. Before this all happened. Pain makes for strange allies. The hate the bear and bull shared across the battlefield now turned against the Divide. Few survived. Intact. Many NCR were already here when the destruction happened, keeping the route east open in fear of Caesar, fear of the Legion.
I think I know why they were trying to keep the route east open. The NCR would have needed the supply line open to reinforce the Mojave and Hoover Dam.
The dam, that old world wall. The bear, NCR, couldn't be allowed to reach it easily. Long 15, Cayman, both bad enough. Kimball, Kaiser, House. You'd think their whole world was that wall, cutting the Colorado. If I'd never laid eyes on it, never spoke of it. But once found, it was all Caesar could see. That, and the flag beyond it, another symbol, big enough to challenge him. And the Divide, one of the roads to it. Legion was tasked with cutting that artery. If you can't kill the bear in one stroke, bleed it, starve it. That kind of murder. It's what any of the Legion would have done. Now, the Divide belongs to history.
I found some recordings from you in Hopeville.
The tapes. Didn't think those would be found. You know the Divide better than I thought. Had tech from the Big Empty. Recorder a woman gave me. Didn't survive the road. On its last legs. Cast it and the tapes aside. Weren't worth the words anyway. Not like I'd forget what happened. If you heard them, nothing but ramblings, reminders for a man who doesn't need them. Probably more lying from here to the divide.
We can pass a 75 speech check to say you wouldn't have recorded those messages if they didn't matter to you.
Maybe not. Who's to say? You, perhaps, found them, heard them after I cast them aside. Maybe there was purpose in that. If they matter, if history matters, we'll see at the end of the road.
If this is the high road, where does it lead?
At the end of the high road lies Ashton, its silo. That machine with you, it can open it, wake it up, like it did the one in Hopeville.
We can pass a 6 perception check to say you have a lot of hate for the robot with me. I can hear it in your voice.
Hate? No. There's nothing to hate in metal, steel, gold, or platinum. You're a machine. It's just a tool, made of wreckage of the divide. All that was brought here.
When we first spoke in Hopeville, you mentioned you'd sworn not to kill me. Why?
You know the why of it. If you don't, I do. And that's enough. Shows trust only walks so far west. Earned more than that, though, getting this far. We walk the same road, carry the same colors. Can't break that by making the road red. Want more than that? Walk the divide. Answers will come. Closer you get to home. You and that machine.
This road leads nowhere. There's nothing in the divide.
Many in the Mojave think the divide's nothing but canyon and storm. Wasn't always. There was life. A town farther west. Not talking about an old world town like Hopeville. More recent. Something you saw in your lifetime. It had the name, the divide, too. But rather than cracks in the earth, it was a road from the west into the Mojave, a supply line. Took a courier to make that road. You. Back then, you saw the road with eyes facing east. This time, the divide's in the other direction. And if your eyes try to make sense of it when you reach it, home's not what it was.
I made that town? How then can you call it my home if I made it? What makes you think this leads to my home?
All roads lead back to one's home. Not your birthplace, maybe, but home. Home isn't where you were born into this world. You taught me that. Part of your message, whether you meant it or not, can be a place of mind, a moment where you know who you are, the history of it, and they can be places you breathe life into. Never would have known the divide had it not been for you. The road you made with your tracks again and again. You were the only one willing to make the journey to and from here. A hard road. Kept the land before the divide alive through seasons, storms. Can't have been just a job. Was something more to you. Don't feel for a place that hard unless it's home.
I've walked a lot of hard roads, Mojave and before. Doesn't mean anything.
It means everything. Even if you deny it, cast it aside, that speaks to what you are. Proves what happened here.
Whatever you believe happened, you have it wrong.
Wrong? No. I know the truth of it.
You're crazy. Your head's messed up worse than the divide.
And you've forgotten. forgotten everything. Careless. As careless with futures then as you are now in the Mojave. It was you walking that road that kept the divide alive. It grew from what you did. Settlers, camps, filling that old world city. Chance for a new mission, new beginning, new way of thinking. Could have breathed new life into the Mojave, bridging east, west, like Hoover Dam. But not old world. Something you made. Road was a supply line.
You're still making assumptions about all of this.
No, recounting history.
There's no other supply line to the Mojave beyond the Long 15.
Not anymore. If one existed, the two-headed bear would have claimed it. And it tried to.
Maybe you should just tell me what happened to the divide.
NCR saw the worth in that road you made. Staked a claim, whether it was wanted there or not. True elsewhere in the Mojave. And where the bear tries to cling to life, the Legion comes, bearing messages. Some brought by blade, others by couriers. You knew what was coming, as sure as I know what's coming for you. This time you carry the burden. Walk west into the sun, and keep walking until it dies. There, I'll be waiting.
With that, Ulysses releases Eddie, and we can loot the few containers we find here. We learned from him that we created a road to the divide. Presumably not a physical one, but a road of commerce, of trade. That it was our building of that road that made it prosperous, that made it a place where life flourished. It was a place he says that we cared about, a place we once called home, but we don't remember. Ulysses is right, we have forgotten. It's not entirely our fault, we did get shot in the head. But if the divide was once our home, why did we leave it? And what happened to it? Walking up the wrecked part of this overpass, past one of Ulysses' white marks, we see marked men, camped by a travel service sign, and one of them is a mini-boss named Beast. When the marked men are dead, we can move forward to loot their camp. On Beast's body, we find human flesh, some Legion currency, a shoulder-mounted machine gun, if we missed the one back in Hopeville, and another unique helmet, the marked Beast face helmet. Like the helmet we covered in yesterday's episode, this one too has been forged by the marked men using scrap metal. It has a DT of 3 and grants +3 to melee and +2 to critical chance. It can be repaired with combat helmets. It's meant to resemble Lanius's helmet. As Ulysses said just a moment ago, we haven't met Legate Lanius yet, but the major differences between this and his helmet is that this one does not have a beard, and this one has a large red scar across the face. After looting a number of ammunition canisters on the ground around this camp, we find 2 more on the back of a truck and a mobile commissary terminal. This must have some sort of satellite uplink in order to work from the back of a truck. After we get Ed E to unlock it, we can access the commissary to restock on ammunition and use its repair functionality to repair all of the new gear we collected in Hopeville. On the ground near to this truck are even more ammo boxes and crates, and inside one, we find a stack of 3 Satchel Charges. Satchel Charges are a new placed explosive with Lonesome Road. These are the new explosive items we can have Eddie craft once a day instead of energy ammunition. The major difference between these Satchel Charges and other placed explosives is it has an incredibly short detonation timer. They explode almost immediately upon triggering them. The Satchel Charge is one of the most powerful placed explosives in the game, dealing more damage than even a bottle cap mine. This was a last-minute decision. One of the developers, when asked about this, said that originally it would have had double the fuse it does now, and its damage would have been half. We can craft Satchel Charges with 25 lead, 25 pistol powder, 1 scrap electronics, and 1 sensor module. When done, we can move north. And as we crest some rubble, we see that a skyscraper has fallen over and broken on top of another. But wait, what's that? Is that someone standing in a window over there? Wait, where did he go? Could that have been Ulysses? We see more movement down on the overpass, so switching to our brush gun, we can get rid of some marked men. Once the area is clear, we can move forward. We see a big blasted out blue truck to the left. In the back are 2 suitcases. Moving forward, we begin to feel the radiation emanating from the nearby miniature nuclear warhead. Stepping inside this blasted out bus, we find another skeleton and another suitcase. And then moving northeast across a scrap wood ramp, we find 2 ammo crates and a military shipping box next to one of Ulysses' blue marks. We also see that he's provided a handy arrow pointing us up some ruined scaffolding. Up the scaffolding, and at the top, we can loot a red toolbox, and then we can jump through a broken window in this tilted skyscraper to loot the corpse of the marked man with the flare gun we killed from afar. From here, we can climb across some of the wrecked concrete from this building to the other side, but we have to be careful as the ramp across is covered in explosives. On the other side, we discover the crow's nest. Here we can loot 2 ammo containers before finding Ulysses' log Y1716.
Big, empty. There's something hidden there. A crater. Past wind and sand. So deep in the desert, there's no turning back. Finding the crater was an accident. Was following the weather patterns. The divide sky torn like that. Man's violence, not nature's. That violence in the sky had a source. Tracked it, like following a river current. Left the colors to mark my way, like always. In case someone finds them, learns the pattern. The courier might. But I thought sand and wind would never end. Came to the crater. And there was an old world facility. A weather station at the edge. Still raking the sky with electricity and generators. And beyond it, saw the rest of the old world hell there, all carved up like garden plots. Had to see what was there. Couldn't leave it be. Things asleep in the big empty. The Brotherhood woke them up. Can't move quiet any more than the 2-headed bear can. And when they woke up, it was like all of history waking up at once. Almost didn't make it out. Almost. Left with answers I never intended.
We remember from Old World Blues finding the holotape where Ulysses told us that he finally found his answers in a meteorological station. When we went to the same station, we found Ulysses' graffiti on the floor before a large map of the divide. We didn't know it was the divide then, but we know now. The magnifying glass on the map skittered about its surface, moving from one point to the next. What points was this magnifying glass pinpointing? What answers did Ulysses find in this room? On the ground next to where we found the holotape, we find a bedroll and a duffel bag. Inside the duffel bag, we get 2 mini nukes. On the campfire is a copy of Milsurp Review, and in a wooden box next to it, we find a stim pack and some medics. There's another stim pack on the ground. Beneath, a Ralphie poster. After tagging it, we can walk to the eastern corner to loot 2 more ammunition boxes, a red toolbox, 2 more first aid kits, and a sniper rifle. This'll come in handy. We can also loot a Tales of Chivalry. Moving west, we see a corpse hanging out of a window. On the wall next to him are the words, "I feel fine." I suppose it's possible that not all graffiti we find here is due to Ulysses. This body is fresh. On his corpse, we find a full suit of advanced Riot gear. The advanced Riot gear is an improvement over the Riot gear. The armor has a DT of 21 compared to the Riot armor's DT of 20, and it has different effects. It grants us a bonus of +10 to explosives and +1 to endurance. It also weighs less, weighing only 25 pounds compared to the Riot gear's 30. The helmet is also a big improvement, giving us a DT of 5 compared to the Riot gear's DT of 4. It grants us +2 to perception and also gives us the same sneak sight effect. The advanced Riot gear differs cosmetically from the Riot gear as well. Like the Riot gear, this version has the numbers 100 on the throat guard, but the pants and jacket are brown. It also has green bracers made from a combat armor-like material on the forearms, and the shoulder pauldrons are a little bit more impressive, a little bulkier. They have white stripes going across both of them. The helmet has completely different markings. On the very front, we have a shield with a white and yellow field and a horse on the front. This is the symbol of the 11th Armored Calvary Regiment, a cavalry regiment found in our own world. It was founded in 1901, and it's also called the Black Horse Regiment. The only major difference between the real-world version and the Fallout version is that the patch of the 11th Armored Cavalry in the real world has a red and white field on the shield instead of yellow and white. As a side note, the motto of the 11th Armored Cavalry Regiment is Allons, meaning let's go. Similar to what a certain doctor says, Allons-y, let's go there. Now that we're done looting, we can take our advanced Riot gear back to the commissary and get it all nice and repaired. When we're ready, we can continue to loot before detonating this nuclear warhead. Continuing northeast, beneath the tipped-over skyscraper, we find a Satchel Charge box and a first aid kit, near to a concrete median, and on the other side, 2 more ammunition boxes. Alright, I've looted absolutely everything around here, for fear of destroying it after detonating the warhead, so heading all the way back, making sure there's just enough distance, we can pull out our laser detonator and detonate the warhead. That must have been an extra mini one. The explosion wasn't quite as resounding as we're used to, and heading on over to the blast site, we just see a bunch of fire. We don't find any new passages, doors, or additional loot. So, we continue east along the overpass. When standing directly underneath the skyscraper, we see movement off to the southeast. We can try to pick a few of them off. One down. Moving forward, we see a ruined trailer. We can climb up a concrete ramp, passing a bunch of blood all over the ground. Inside, we find a skeleton next to a suitcase, and lots of human body parts all over. As we move to the southeast... What was that? A Deathclaw drops on top of the trailer. We see him moving around through the cracks in the ceiling. He jumps down, and then he passes by one of the windows. This isn't any good at all. I'm much more effective when there's distance between myself and an enemy. I'm also missing the element of surprise so I don't get off any sneak criticals. This is a scripted event. The Deathclaw doesn't appear until we move to the back of this trailer. Then it appears right above the trailer and immediately detects us because we're right next to it. I therefore had to replay this event over and over again, dying each time until I finally killed him. Incidentally, flashbangs don't go through windows. Now I know what you're saying. Oxhorn, why didn't you use the flare gun? I know, I should have used the flare gun. After all, Deathclaws count as abominations. But I had forgotten that at this point, so it took a number of tries of being one-hit killed by this Tagon Deathclaw before I finally killed it. When finally dead, we can go back inside the trailer and loot 2 ammo containers and a metal box. Thankfully, the ammo containers have a lot of ammunition, so it was worth it. But that wasn't even the challenging one. Continuing east, we see another Deathclaw, hiding behind another warhead in the back of a truck. He quickly catches sight of us and beelines straight for us. Again, another one-hit kill. Remember, I repaired this advanced riot gear at the commissary, so it's not like I'm not wearing any armor. I again tried this encounter multiple times, using a variety of different weapons. I even tried using the laser detonator to detonate the warhead from afar in hopes that the explosion would kill the Deathclaw. It didn't kill the Deathclaw, but it did bring him to half-life. In that way, I was finally able to move on. Moving forward, we find a wrecked Lone Wanderer motorcycle, and lying next to a red toolbox and an ammo crate is a new unique item, Roughing It Bedroll Kit. The Roughing It Bedroll Kit allows you to sleep just about anywhere out under the stars. Select it in your Pip-Boy and sleep your cares away. This is one of 3 Roughing It Bedroll Kits we find in the Divide. The first one I missed. I forgot to show it to you. It was back in Hopeville, which I covered in yesterday's video. When facing the Hopeville missile silo bunker, the one where we first met Ulysses upon exiting it, climb up a little ramp on top of the bunker. Here, next to a wrecked blue Corvega, we can loot a hard-locked ammo canister, a damaged shipping crate, and 2 military crates, one of which has a sniper rifle inside. Propped up against the rocky wall is the Roughing It Bedroll Kit. Many thanks to the viewers who pointed out that omission in the comments of yesterday's video. It does fully heal you like sleeping in any bed does, but it doesn't give us the well-rested perk, and we can only use it out of doors. We can't use it inside. Continuing south brings us to the ruined highway interchange, and here we find another Deathclaw. But thanks to a visit from Misfortune, we managed to get him. I don't know why I'm having such a hard time with these Deathclaws. They tend to not be a problem in the Mojave. I'm guessing that the ones on the high road are extra vicious. We see a dumpster to the south. Inside we find 1 metal box and 1 duffel bag. And then heading out and moving south, we see a truck climbing up on inside. We find a bed to sleep in and a stack of magazines. Future Weapons Today, Milsurp Review, La Fantoma, and Patriot's Cookbook. Here we find a survivor's footlocker with a huge stash of goods, including a combat helmet and marked trooper armor. In the very back, we find 3 military shipping crates, only 2 of which are filled with goods. Back out of the truck, and continuing along the overpass to the southeast, we see that we're nearing its end. There are rocks and broadcast towers looming on the far side, and as we continue, Eddie chooses this moment to recall one of his memories.
Yeah, all due respect, sir, I think you're making a mistake. We're close to a breakthrough with the Duraframe iBots. I can feel it. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I understand that we need the Duraframe assets for Hellfire armor, but... No, sir. Yes, sir. I understand, sir. I'll tell the team to start disassembling the ED series prototypes right away. Eddie, you little rascal, were you eavesdropping again? I think those videos you watch are a bad influence on you. How much of that did you hear? Didn't Dr. Grant say she'd upgraded your navigational systems? And I think I have an idea. How'd you like to be just like Ralphie?
Sounds like Dr. Whitley was a bit of a rogue element. Yeah, I'm beginning to see where you get it from. Do you record everything that's said around you? Really? Well, I'd better be careful what I say to you, huh? No, Eddie. I don't want to hear your recordings of human mating calls. That's just wrong. Whitley should have obeyed orders. Without respect for the chain of command, the whole unit falls apart. I think I would have liked him. All right, Eddie, let's get going. Near to where Eddie stopped us, we find a tipped-over toxic waste transport vehicle. The barrels are all spilling out of the back, but we do find 2 lead-lined crates with breathing masks and Rad-X and Radaway inside. We also find more auto-inject stim packs. Continuing along, we see a break in the overpass railing to the south, and for the first time we can stop and take in the devastation around us. When we last looked out to the divide, we were far away, but now we're right in the middle of it. This is the kind of devastation we don't even see in the Capital Wasteland, which took a direct hit. Did Hopeville take a direct hit 200 years ago? And if so, how has it not recovered at all since that time? What caused this devastation? We recall from Old World Blues that scientists had been performing strange weather experiments here. Could these experiments alone be enough to explain these strange winds? To explain this devastation? I don't know. After all, some of the bodies we find here are fresh. Moving forward, we see another Deathclaw, and this time I'm determined to get a sneak critical. Finally, my character is working as intended. Hopping up into the back of this truck and peering over the side, we see another warhead down in this valley. Looks like there's stuff for us to do down there. At the very end of the overpass, we can turn left to walk underneath it. Here we find a few shipping crates. Moving northwest, we find a suitcase, and looking down, we see a ruined building down there. It's important to remember this for later. Turning back around and continuing east down the road, we see that the road goes through the hills to the northeast. Our quest marker sends us that way, but there's clearly stuff to explore down in the valley, so we're gonna go that way first. Moving downhill to the southeast, we see a truck lodged on some rocks, buried in some rubble, near to this collapsed tunnel. We can scoot on up there by climbing the rock, and in the back, we find 2 military shipping crates filled with MREs and goods. Heading out and moving left, we see smoke coming from a campfire. Here we find a caravan crate, a duffel bag, a footlocker, and Ulysses log Y1722.
I walked the Great Salt Lake as Kaiser's eye, then his hand. Mongrels there, 2 legs and 4. Saw walls of New Canaan the scavengers circled, and the strength or fire to take. Too high, too strong. White legs, they were born for war. They run to it, hungry for battle. Yet their hunger is to be a part of history, something larger. Like the Legion, as always, brought them a message from Kaiser. If New Canaan burns, Kaiser might see them. Might. Even the chance was a lie. To honor Kaiser, destroy the history of New Canaan and the way they carry it in their generations and family. Kaiser respects such strength, I told them. That was truth, even if strength wasn't the word. Obedience. You must be willing to kill anyone. Children, mothers, the weak, elders. If these New Canaanites value the generations, that is what you must kill. It was like Wulpus was speaking through me. Use the night, silence, and fire to change their words to please, to screams. No need for bombs when hate will do. I asked the White Legs to destroy a people with ancestry going back thousands of years. Another death of history, lost to time. The New Canaanites. They supplied medicine, food traded with others. Civilization, a hand from the past, not history. But maybe a past deeper. Farther than that, to a place where this God really exists. If so, his handiwork and people belong elsewhere, not in this place. Another symbol like bear and bull, with no meaning in the present.
So it's true. Ulysses was a Frumentari, a spy, a scout, a messenger of Caesar, and he got the Whitelegs to destroy New Canaan by telling them that if they did so, Kaiser would let them into the Legion, all the while knowing that it was a lie. It sounds, however, that he might be a changed man now, and that he might regret the thing that he did. But what was it he said as the holotape ended? That it was good for New Canaan to be wiped out? That it was good for all those people to be killed? What? Because they were too good for this place? The civilization they created didn't belong in a wasteland? It belonged with their god? Is that how he justifies what he and the Whitelegs did to them? If so, I'm beginning to eagerly anticipate our meeting with Ulysses. Heading down from this overlook, we can go around the interchange and head down the hill. Creeping under the interchange, we find 2 more boxes and another survivor's footlocker with quite another haul of goods. Heading back to the hillside and going down it, we pass a Smitty's sign upon which Ulysses has placed some of his red warning graffiti. But heading down, we don't see any enemies. There is a lit lantern here next to human bones and a duffel bag, and sitting amongst some scrap is the next nuclear warhead. Near to this is the Junction 7 rest stop. And just as we're about to enter, we get attacked by tunnelers. Those are much more difficult when I don't use a flashbang. They're just so fast. Heading inside the rest stop, we find the corpse of a marked man. On the wall, we see more graffiti. Germain has been crossed out, and the name Brett written above it. Huh. Someone not only switched significant others, but also proclivities. Heading up the stairs, we see a copy of Lad's Life peeking out from underneath a scorched book. And at the very top, oh, this room is so tilted, we find a mostly empty room with lots of graffiti. Drop chems, not bombs, Billy rules. We find a first aid kit in the corner, a copy of Programmer's Digest in a bookshelf, and in the top shelf, the Lonesome Road snow globe. You've found a limited edition Mojave Landmark snow globe. This snow globe has been added to the collection at the Lucky 38, and upon looting it, we are magically gifted 2,000 caps. Give peace a chance! Peace, heart! Near to this very peaceful and also very dead person is a personal footlocker, and examining the corpse, ooh, there's a Bowie knife stabbed right through his neck. What a horrible, violent way to go for such a peaceful guy. On the corner near to his bed is a copy of Today's Physician. Heading out and then going around the building to the northwest, we find another Ralphie poster. We learned that attached to the pit stop was a restaurant named Parker's Restaurant and Fountain. Parking in the rear. Alright, well, let's head to the rear to see if we can find any of that parking. Well, there's even more graffiti on the back of it. The name Lester and the words, "The center cannot hold." This is a reference to a 1919 poem written by W.B. Yeats. The poem is called The Second Coming, and the entire thing is a reference to the Second Coming of Christ. Yeats wrote this thing just after the First World War, where much of Europe was trying to rebuild after their own mini-apocalypse. The part of the verse where this excerpt comes from is towards the beginning. Turning and turning in the widening gyre, the falcon cannot hear the falconer. Things fall apart, the center cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. The nights in the Divide are just extra dark. So crouching on down to activate our night vision, we see a couple of ruins off to the north, but 2 red marks on our compass. However, creeping closer to this ruin, we don't see any enemies. I'm guessing these marks must be for enemies on the overpass above us. But didn't we just clear that? How could enemies be up there? On this ruined building, we see some of Ulysses' blue graffiti signifying a secret stash. We find a metal box in a corner next to a ruined wall. Heading into this building, on the bottom level, we find a lot of supplies for crafting ammunition. We find a parts cabinet filled with jars of rifle powder and primer boxes. There's a handy reloading bench to the east and another parts container and metal box filled with more ammunition crafting supplies. After crafting some ammo and reloading, Eddie gets attacked by a Deathclaw. Well, I managed to get that sneak critical off, so he wasn't down here for me. All that moving about Eddie was doing likely alerted the Deathclaws on the overpass above. So 2 more Deathclaws must have been triggered to spawn as we explored the rest stop. But the other one doesn't want to seem to come out and play. Heading around back behind the building, we can loot 2 more military shipping crates. And we see a bunch of signs and stuff sticking out of the roof, giving us the impression that something might be on top of it. But walking all around, I couldn't find a ramp or anything that could get me on top of there. It was then that I got a notification that Eddie was unconscious. The second Deathclaw had tracked him down, which means he would soon come for me. So creeping back up the hill and back up to the interchange, we can track down this final Deathclaw. Now I wanted to find a way on top of that ruined building, so heading back down, we can walk around underneath this overpass to see if we can find a part of this hillside that overlooks the building. But it was just so dark, it was hard to see one. At length, we see a big black car overlooking the rooftop. Hopping down onto the ledge upon which the black car is perched, we can jump up on top of the car and then sail on over to the rooftop. Here we are rewarded for our efforts with 2 metal boxes, a big wooden crate of booze and cigarettes, 1 first aid kit, and 1 duffel bag. Jumping down, we can loot 2 ammo containers on the ground, near to the reloading bench that I missed earlier. With that, we find ourselves in a dead end. We can't go any further into this valley. So heading all the way back up the hill, we can turn around and detonate the warhead. Detonating the warhead doesn't reveal any secret. It just helps us on our way to completing the challenge. This leaves 1 road to continue forward. Back on the high road, we can continue past a fire truck to the northeast. We see red marks on our compass, so we need to be extra careful. Instead of taking the road, I'm gonna climb up on top of this rocky outcrop. Looking down below, we see Satchel Charges in the middle of the road, but no enemies yet. But there, off to the northeast, in that ruined building, we see Ulysses' red warning symbol written on the side. Creeping forward and sneaking around a big boulder, we can attack a mini-boss named Bonesaw. Upon killing Bonesaw, we get the Marked perk. We achieve this perk by killing 3 of the 4 mini-bosses in the Divide. So far, we've killed Blister, Beast, and Bonesaw. 1 remains. This perk grants us 10% DT and allows us to deal 10% more damage against marked men. We see more marked men in the windows of the nearby ruined buildings. We can put this new perk to good use. Heading down to loot Bonesaw's body, we find a chainsaw, more Legion currency, and the unique item, the Marked Beast Tribal Helmet. This is another scratch-built helmet from Marked Men of the Divide. It grants us a DT of 4 and +3 to both melee and unarmed. This one can also be repaired with combat helmets, and it most closely resembles the helmet worn by Legate Linnaeus. The faceplate is almost a carbon copy. All it's missing is the horn on the right side and the red frill on top. Bonesaw was hanging out at some of these marked man hovels. We can loot a whole bunch of bottle caps by the campfire. We find a box to loot, and inside some of the hovels we can find some ammo containers, and the 3rd and final Roughin' It bedroll kit. It's then that we're spied by another marked man from the ruins to the east. Before heading over to that side, we can explore the ruined building on this side. Using nearby rocks as a ramp, we can leap up to the second floor of this ruined structure, where we find 2 ammo canisters and a sniper rifle. On the ground floor of this ruined building, if we head to the southeast, we find a first aid kit, 2 Satchel Charge boxes, and a military shipping crate. We can then turn around and go loot those Satchel Charges that we saw lining the road earlier. But as I mentioned, we have to be careful. The fuse on this thing is really short. And they excel at crippling limbs. Before exploring the ruins to the east, I wanted to take this road all the way south. At the very end, we find a military truck with more military shipping crates inside, a skeleton holding a duffel bag to the southwest, and the next, miniature nuclear warhead. Detonating this one reveals a tiny little cave, and inside we find 3 lead-lined metal boxes. Inside we find an assortment of chems and breathing masks. With the south explored, all we have left to do is explore the east. If we head to the southern side of this building, we can explore a dumpster where we find 2 ammunition boxes and a duffel bag. Inside the ruins, we find a whole lot of containers on this ground floor, tool cabinets, boxes, a reloading bench, more military shipping crates, and first aid kits, all littering the ground. Taking the stairs up to the next floor, we find another military crate with a sniper rifle embedded in the wall here, strangely enough. And crossing to the southern side of this building, we find another box and 2 more ammunition crates next to another sniper rifle. If while on the second floor, we examine one of these concrete pillars on the northern side of this building, we find the next Ralphie poster. I missed this on my first run through, and I had to come back for it, which is why you see that this was the 20th one I found. Heading out of the ruins, we can turn north and go around back behind them. Here we find a dumpster and a few more boxes to loot. And then walking west from here, we find a small little workshop, complete with scrap, a construction helmet, and even a workbench. This workshop is behind a big ruined building. Inside the ruins of the building, we just find some filing cabinets and a desk. With that, we explore everything along this trail, leaving north, the only path before us. Moving forward through the gate, we discover the Ashton Silo Control Station. And here we see a crumbling building with Ulysses' white graffiti. In this room, we see an elevator to the right and a console in front of us. Upon entry, Eddie activates the console. A big lever emerges from the console, much like the one we found in the Hopeville silo that restored power to the silo. Before going over to examine it, we can loot a toolbox and a footlocker on a shelf behind us, as well as a metal box. And we see an elevator here. This must be where we need to go, but upon trying to take it, we get a message. Silo door sealed. This silo is in lockdown mode in preparation for launch. No entry or exit is permitted until the launch sequence is completed. Wait, what? I have to launch a missile before I can enter the silo? We do see Ulysses' white graffiti here. This must be where we're to go. Well, moving on over to the console, we see the lever. It says Open Ashton's Silo. Well, okay, here we go. Did we just launch a nuclear missile? Whoa! It looks like it didn't get very far. Seems like it detonated in the atmosphere, just over the divide.
Good. You're back online. Listen to me, Eddie. If you stay here, they'll dismantle you for parts. You have to go now. I've uploaded destination coordinates for our outpost in Navarro into your system. I want you to go to the Enclave there, okay? Do you understand me? It's going to be a long journey, my little friend. You'll have to fly very far and fly very fast. Can you do that? I know you can. Be careful out there, Eddie. Maybe I'll see you again someday.
How long ago was this? And you still haven't made it? So much for upgraded navigational systems. Boo-hoo, poor little robot lost his daddy. It sounds like it wasn't easy for him either. I bet Whitley would be proud of you for making it this far. So you're trying to get all the way to Navarro? Isn't that in NCR territory? Yes, Eddie, I'm sure you didn't make the entire trip in one go. It's still impressive, though. I'm amazed you didn't break down somewhere along the way. Come on, Eddie. We need to keep going. We prepare to enter the elevator when we get a message. Courier's Mile. It looks like the missile hit somewhere on the other side of the divide. You think you could reach the location of the blast from Hopeville. That is, if you feel brave enough to explore ground zero of a nuclear blast. Wait, so it didn't detonate in the air? I'm confused. I thought I clearly saw it detonate in the air. We even still see the clouds from the detonation lingering in the air. Well, maybe it detonated just close enough to the surface of the Earth to cause the devastation we just read about. But that means we just nuked a place. I didn't want to nuke a place. The lever said open the silo. It didn't say nuke a place. Well, with the elevator unlocked, we can head inside. And this is where I must leave you for today. We walk away with so many questions. Why did I have to launch a nuke? What did we just nuke? Did we kill anybody? Does Ulysses really regret what he did to New Canaan? Does he really think that people who attempt to rebuild civilization should just be killed because thriving civilizations don't belong in this world? And have we really been to the Divide before? Was this, like Ulysses said, once our home? To find out, tune in to tomorrow's episode. I publish a new Fallout video 6 days a week on a wide range of topics spanning all of the games. So if you want to make sure that you don't miss my next episode, be sure to subscribe and to click that bell notification button. I'm dedicating this week to the Lonesome Road DLC of Fallout New Vegas. We've just finished episode 3, and episode 4 will be a doozy. I've got a brand new shirt in the shop, folks. Who are you that do not know your history? That's right, inspired by the very words of Ulysses, we have a wonderful image on the front with the quote, and on the back, we have Ulysses' red, old world flag graffiti mark. You can find this design on shirts, hoodies, and many other products. They come in a wide array of colors and in a variety of sizes. I have a bunch of other designs as well as a number of other products. You can find a link to my shop in the description below, or you can click here. Follow me on Facebook and Twitter to keep up to date with all Oxhorn news. And if you like what I do and you want to support me in a more personal way, consider becoming one of my patrons on Patreon. But more than anything, I'm just so glad you're here watching this video with me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow morning, bright and early, with episode 4.